Friday.
Yep.
Normally with, I haven't got your
With Roger, yeah.
We can fix that now.
We've been with Roger forever at just after 12.
Oh, here we go. Yes.
Hello.
And are you well for Friday?
Oh, isn't it a beautiful day? I don't mind it being a bit cooler. It means, as girls, we get to wear our scarves and our boots and our jackets. So I've got to say,
Yes.
It's nice.
You've got to be able to do it, haven't you?
You do.
You've got to be able to do it. So, okay, what are we going to talk about today? All health issues?
That's right. So over the next hour, we're going to be chatting about things like Graves' disease and peanut allergies and loneliness, funnily enough. So a few weeks ago with Roger, we were chatting about Hashimotos and how so often in Australia, Hashimotos and depression are so connected and confused and misdiagnosed. So, but the other thing that can be misdiagnosed is anxiety and Graves' disease. So I thought, and one of my clients particularly, we're having an interview with her after the break, so it'll be interesting for people to hear how someone gets diagnosed and what ends up happening and what is suggested, because Graves' disease, doesn't it sound like an awful jolly disease?
Well, it does. I thought, well, I should ask exactly what it is. I've got a bit of an idea.
Okay.
I suggest a lot of people out there mightn't have even
heard of it? No, because it's not a lot of people, but it's activated by things like, funnily enough, virals. So when you're not getting over a viral illness, that's the sort of thing that can trigger an autoimmune disease. Right. And Hashimoto's and Graves' disease are two autoimmune diseases that attack the thyroid. So Graves' disease causes hyperthyroid disease, and Hashimoto's causes hypothyroid disease. Right. So the main symptoms when people are getting something like Graves' disease, they can have things like illnesses that won't go away. They can have anxiety. They can have heart palpitations. They can have arrhythmia. So you can imagine if you're getting anxiety and heart, what ends up happening, you go to your doctor, sometimes you might get given an anti-anxiety drug. Now, if you've got an autoimmune disease that's attacking your thyroid, what's happening to the autoimmunity? Well, they're giving you an anti-anxiety drug. Now, I'm not saying this is bad medicine. A lot of people feel better on anti-anxiety medications.
That does make sense. Yeah,
it does.
And
and the clinical treatment, and I think one of the big things that we really should chat about today, and this is what my client knows who we're going to interview after the break, is that you need to be prepared when you go to the doctor. Think about all your symptoms so that you tell them what's going on, because you want their light bulb to go off in their brain and go, maybe it's not just anxiety, maybe it's something else. Because you might end up going down the cardiovascular disease route, so they might be doing all sorts of ECGs and heart checks and stuff because you've got heart palpitations. So it might... And then once again, they might miss it because all of these specialists are perfect in their own field.
Well, I understand what you're saying when you go to the doctor because, yes, there's times I've gone to the doctor and I thought, oh, no, I won't mention that. That's really silly. You're not interested in that. And you should mention everything that you think is going on with you. I
had one of my young clients was in a few weeks ago and she was really impressed because there's a new doctor locally and she went along and all she wanted was a flu vaccine because she has to because she's working in the hospital system. Right. She needed it. So she went along and her doctor refused to give it to her unless she did a full history. So it was the first time she'd seen it and it was the first time she'd ever had to sort of go through, a half-hour consult to get a flu vaccine. Yeah. But when she started talking to her, she's actually done weight loss processes with our clinic about every, 8 months or so for the last 5 years because life just gets in the way. She puts on 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kilos. She's been studying forever. Yeah. She's exhausted. She's tired. She eats bad. She knows it. She exercises like a trooper, but she can't keep her weight under control. So it was really neat because this doctor all of a sudden started saying things like, do you get swollen feet? And she said, yes, I do. She said, do you get constipation? She said, yes, actually, I maybe go to the loo every, 2 to 3 days.
Well, it's one of those things that you think, I won't mention it to the doctor.
Well, especially since if you don't put it together in a combination of symptoms, doctors might not go, maybe this is Hashimoto's or maybe this is something else. Whereas when you do look at the combination of symptoms that can be Hashimoto's disease, then basically they might miss it. So I think it's up to us to be really prepared when we go to the doctor. And I'm not saying to do Dr. Google, because that can make people crazy as well of course.
It certainly can.
And especially my high anxiety clients, they often come in and have all sorts of ideas about what's going on with them. But that's fine too, because because we use kinesiology and testing processes at the clinic, we can at least do some checks and go, well, I don't think it's this because of these reasons, or maybe it's worth going and getting these tests done with your doctor because of this, and this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we might have a little break for some music.
Beautiful.
And we'll come back and get more into health, because it's really interesting, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that will have a different idea of, Hashimotos and Graves and everything.
Perfect.
By the time we finish. That's a long way away.